Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Aussie Starcraft on this sunny Saturday morning, bringing you some more Heart of the Swarm action. This game's going to be another game from the IEM World Championships that took place just a little while ago. This time taking a TvP series. In the top left hand corner we have our blue Terran, LiquidTaeja. In the bottom right hand side, as our red Protoss player, it's going to be mYi Stardust. So this was a fantastic series. This is actually game 5 on Daedalus Point, so no surprises there, but it means both players took 2 games apiece in this best of 5 series, and it's come down to this final 5th game decider. The whole series was fairly awesome, but wanted to cast the deciding match here at the end of the series before we move on to cherry pick a few other of the great replays out of IEM. As a whole, the tournament had some of the greatest StarCraft we saw last month, so pretty excited. And those of you that are currently watching the Europe and America finals that have been taking place last couple of days, you know there's been some pretty fantastic games there as well. So here's to hoping that WCS releases its replays like it did last year, or at least for season 1 and 2. So yeah, so we've had a busy couple of weeks here on the channel. We've had some great StarCraft from IEM. We've had a few community games. We had the Shenanigans Friday night the other night. I think we'll be doing that again next Saturday, so tune in either here on Facebook or on the SC2SEA website, and you'll get a full update of those. If you're interested in playing with us as we muck around, mix it up with some mono battles and a few other sort of hilarious arcade games, you're welcome to join it. Just let us know, and be around next Saturday night. Looks like Taeja is going to go for his fairly standard sort of Reaper opening. It has become the norm for Terran players, particularly in the last couple of months. Occasionally you'll see a fast factory followed by a Banshee, but the majority of times Terran, particularly against Protoss, will squeeze out this fast Reaper to ensure they get a good scout on and make sure their Protoss opponents aren't up to any sneaky tricks. Protoss, obviously, lots of different openings they can employ, particularly on this map. For example, Protoss, you're very liable to see things like proxy oracles or even oracles out of the main base. You can see things like Dark Templar openings, or you can just see very quick timing attacks. Of course, Daedalus Point is one of the less popular maps for Protoss. They don't enjoy the fact that it's such a large ramp to defend, and it's actually some distance from the natural expansion. Ooh, Taeja there managing to snipe that probe. That's going to be a nice little victory for that SCV. Is going to gloat all the way home about his prowess. The Reaper's gonna come in here, and probes for Stardust quickly becoming a little bit of an endangered species. Though we do have a Stalker coming out here, so I imagine Taeja's Reaper's going to be forced to beat a little bit of a retreat. I have Stardust actually ploughing across the map with his Mothership Core, a bit indicative of the fact that he'd like to do a bit of harass with this, and this isn't uncommon for Stardust. He's quite well known to be very aggressive with his opening unit, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this Stalker and Mothership Core actually come across and do a bit of damage to Taeja here. He's already throwing down his expansion on the low ground, has a few Marines coming up. There's a maximum of 4 Marines that'll be out by the time these units make it across the map, so Stalker and Mothership Core more than a match for 4 Marines, so we'll see if Stardust can get anything done with this little bit of early aggro. And looks like the SCV's, it's going to go down, but manages to finish the command center, which is a nice pickup. Would have been good for Stardust if he could have delayed that. But with the Mothership Core providing vision of the high ground, the Stalker's actually going to manage to take out a Marine. The Marine's going for the Mothership Core. Unfortunately, just doing shield damage to both units isn't actually going to gain Taeja any traction here. So the Reaper going to come in and finish off the Stalker, and that'll more or less signal the end of this early aggression. The Marines now more than able to force back the Mothership Core, particularly if it's unassisted. Surprised to not see Stardust throw perhaps a second Stalker in behind the first. Could have really gotten some additional damage in there. 2 Stalkers, obviously twice the threat of a single Stalker, but particularly the ability to micro those Stalkers around, take a bit of damage on the shield but continue to plug away at the Marines, makes them quite a viable threat. I have Stardust now starting to saturate his natural expansion. In the form of tech, we've still got a few gateways on the way. This Reaper trying to get inside, unfortunately, going to explode there. And we don't as of yet have any tech thrown down for Stardust, so I imagine we may see it now that the Reaper's been cleaned up. It's going to be a robotics facility, so likely we'll see some Colossi. Immortals not unheard of in PvT, but generally when you see the Robo thrown down, you can rely on a follow-up to Robo. Mothership Core continuing to be a bit of an annoyance here. 4 kills here, almost able to get that last SCV kill. Unfortunately, Marine's going to be able to force that away, and Taeja is going to repair up his SCV, so if this is an SCV love, I don't know what is. So 2 SCVs repairing away, and we have Stardust moving out with a few Stalkers now. So bunker already established from Taeja with a couple of Marauders in it. It's going to be quite difficult for Stardust to break through even with these 3 Stalkers. It did a little bit of damage with the first Stalker, but perhaps these Stalkers here just a little bit too late. The earlier 1 or 2 Stalkers probably would have given him the capacity to do a lot more with us. +1 armor on the way for our Protoss units. We do have +1 Terran weapons, as well as Stimpack just a few seconds away from completion here. Few observers on the way. I always like this choice from Protoss players. They really need to be aware of when those drops are coming in, so scattering a few observers around the map, always a good idea. We have the robotics bay coming up as well, so we're going to be able to see Colossi in a few minutes. So we do have Taeja barreling out with quite a terrifying Terran force here. It should hit, it's going to hit a little bit before infantry weapons finishes, but if you think about the timing on this, Stardust will likely throw down a Nexus cannon on the expansion here, and by the time that wears out, you can see that the Terran infantry weapons should more or less be done. So it's a nice time from here if he can force that, which he has. Now he just needs to back out. Force fields there, unfortunately not the best force fields, not managing to pin a lot of those units, but or actually Stardust force fields working more against him than for him, pinning his own Stalker and Sentry there. That's a little bit unfortunate. Colossi being chrono boosted out now, and we also have Blink on the way. So, but Taeja here has quite a substantial force. Stardust observer going to see that as it moves out, and as you can see, the infantry weapons in the next 20-30 seconds going to be finishing up, so potential to really do a lot of damage to this expansion as soon as the Nexus cannon wears off. Unfortunately, is sufficient energy for Stardust to throw down another, so Taeja's shouldn't be able to close things out here and now. I'd say that Stardust has more than enough to push this back, particularly with his armor upgrade finishing now. He's got a bit of an advantage there. Nice, better force fields the second time round. Manages to pluck off a few of those units. The Nexus cannon's still doing work here. We have the Nexus actually up to 5 kills here. 6 kill, managed to poke up a Marine, and this Colossus is going to say, hell no, Terran. You better beat a retreat back home. So Taeja's going to have to pull back now, needing some Viking support or just a little bit more critical mass. Marines and Marauders are streaming across the field. First few medevacs starting to come out now, and Taeja actually throwing down his 3rd base. So Observer from Stardust, going to see what's going on in the natural. There's actually not a lot of defense here against potential drops, things like Warp Prism Harass. So I would love to see Stardust throw out a Warp Prism and mix things up like that. Though Blink is almost finished up now. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of Stalkers on the field at the moment. So if Stardust's intending to use that as defense against drops, which Taeja is fairly well known for, he's going to have to throw down a few more Stalkers yet. So otherwise we'll have a single Blink Stalker. Okay, here we go. Another 5 coming down. So we'll move up. Oh no, 4. Move up to 5 Stalkers. So that's a little bit more sensible there. Means the upgrade won't be completely redundant. Taeja with his factory out in the front of his base. The only comment I have for that is likely trying to block the ramp before using it for some scouting later on. So most bio players will at some point sacrifice that factory, use it to scout or gain some sort of useful intel. They're unlikely to produce anything out of it. So that's actually dropping down some proxy pylons right in the middle of the map. Not the most discreet location there, and we're going to have a Marine find that right away. This poor probe going to be forced to beat a retreat as 1 armor not saving him there. And we have this Hero Marine going to town on the pylon, so showing his buddies how it's done. Unfortunately, he may well be an endangered species if Stardust decides to try and shut that down. But we actually have a massive drop from Taeja in the main base, actually managing to snipe that Nexus. Taeja managing to sneak it past the vision of Stardust and right into the main base of Stardust, sorry. So Taeja actually triggering the base race here, and we have Stardust trying to commit, but there are several Vikings here, 4 Vikings on nice angles. Taeja's pulled the SCVs, but unfortunately it's going to be they're not actually going to make it into combat here. Nice force fields from Stardust going to continue to hold these back. Unfortunately, the Vikings are just enough to pluck these Colossi, and we have SCVs managing to take the Colossus down from underneath, and Stardust calls GG. So Taeja's going to take this series 3 games to 2, and as a fairly impressive win there for Taeja. If we skip back just a moment to that drop in the main base, Taeja, sneaky enough, he managed to get it past me as well. So we have these 3 medevacs that moving now in the top right side, and you actually see the vision of Stardust here. He's got his army here, he's got a zealot moving across in the main base, and you'll see Taeja actually dropped a marine to gain the watchtower vision and ensure that the vision wasn't caught. So the reason that Stardust was caught so out of position here is he expected to have great line of sight in that top portion of the map, but unfortunately Taeja just getting the one up there and landing this sizable Doom drop in the main base. Photon overcharge goes down, but 2 zealots and a few probes not going to be enough to hold it, and Taeja manages to focus it straight down with his only 1-0 upgrades, but taking that Nexus straight down and triggering this base race. So nice play out of Taeja there, going up to 3 base versus 1. And Stardust was left with little choice but to try and engage. There's a few Stalkers here, but perhaps not enough. If these force fields had gone down just a little bit earlier, we probably would have seen that force hold substantially better than it did. Marauders actually able to get in quite close to the first few and do damage there. The Vikings managing to take down these Colossi. Unfortunately, too much for the Colossi, and they did go down. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was quite a nice TvP series. So I think the best thing we can learn from that is the way Taeja executed that drop. He didn't just try to move out to the extreme of the map and drop down into his opponent's base, as things like this pylon would have picked it up. We even had a zealot hovering back and forward between the natural and the potential base over there, just to try and provide as much vision as possible. Perhaps if Stardust had popped it on that tower, he would have seen the medevacs move in, but we saw Taeja grab the watchtower for vision, and then as soon as he knew he was safe, boost down into the middle of Stardust base and tear it up. So great execution from Taeja, and he is going to move on in this tournament. Hope you guys enjoyed the series. If it's the first time on the channel, by all means subscribe. You'll see the button above, below, all around the video. We'd love to see you here in the future. For all our regulars, we appreciate your continued support. You are the best, and we enjoy having you here on the channel. So I hope you're enjoying the replays. If you've got any suggestions or games you would like us to cast, by all means, please send them to aussiestarcraftreplays@gmail.com. We'd be happy to cast those for you. Alright guys, this is Aussie Starcraft, and I'll catch you in the next cast.